Today, we're looking at short video and asking, can it be used to introduce people to Jesus? And we'll be looking at some tips on how to use short video. Welcome to our special guest, Colby Megg. Colby, so glad you could be with us today.
Thanks for having me, Tim. It's always a pleasure.
Hey, and so let me tell everybody a little bit about you, and then let's get stuck into some questions. Colby, you're a pastor, a new church plant called Bloom. You're an in-demand speaker, so really appreciate your time with us today. You're a content creator, and you're having some incredible engagement and reach stats at the moment. And I'd love you to tell us a little bit about that in a moment. And from what I understand, you love reading, basketball, and working on a PhD proposal. How do you find time for all these things?
That's a good question. Just time management, just blocking stuff out. And just, trying to do a little bit of everything. I try to keep my hand in a little bit of everything. And just the things I'm passionate about and enjoy, I make time for. So content creation, ongoing continuous education are one of those. So, yeah.
Hey, so we're here to talk about short video. So tell us, what is short video and why should we be taking notice of it?
Yeah, so short form content is in contrast to vertical content, or in contrast to widescreen. Short form content takes up the full length of your phone. So if you have an iPhone, short form content is going to take up the entire length of this screen. And TikTok was really the first ones to really introduce this and really make it popular. And then after TikTok, Instagram came in, and now YouTube has come in, and everyone's trying to get the audience's attention for vertical form content because it's more immersive than your horizontal kind of content. So it's very popular. It's picking up steam. It still has been, going quite rapidly in the last year and a half. So I don't imagine it slowing down anytime soon.
So tell us, what's a short video? How long is a video? What qualifies?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's changing. So short form used to mean just 1 minute or less. And so it could be, anywhere from 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 45 seconds to a minute. That was considered short form. But now that definition of short form is really evolving a little bit. You even get some videos that are like 6 seconds, whereas it's really a very, very short video, but it captures your attention and it engages the listener or the audience. But now we're seeing more and more content come up that's like 1 minute, 2 minute content that's still deemed as short form. But it still has the same idea in terms of it's easily transferable. It's quick to listen to. You can just, get it quickly in the morning or whatever like that. When you're on the go, you can kind of watch it because people's attention spans are very short, as you know, Tim. And, attention is a resource. And this is where we came up with the whole notion of attention economics. It's the idea that people's attention, they only have so much of it. So it's a resource. So we need to maximize our deliverables in order to give them the most in that short window of time. So yeah, that's the idea of short form, really to the point, straight to it. No, don't beat around the bush, but just tell me what I need to know and why I need to know it. So that's the idea.
And it sounds like consumers are really liking this short form. I saw a stat this morning saying, 2 out of 3 social media consumers are saying that short video is the most engaging type of social media content for them. And so this really deserves us, expanding and looking at the potential of short video. Tell us about what sort of short videos you're producing.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I started just shooting vertical video on TikTok about maybe 2 years ago now. And it's kind of evolved since then. It used to be just me in my bedroom with my phone against my wall. And I would just click play and record it right on the TikTok app. So things have kind of evolved for me. I do a lot of different types of content. I use my Mark Canon, Mark II OS Canon, and I shoot video in my living room, just me sitting on my couch, just saying like encouraging words, giving people a Bible verse to encourage their day or a prayer, just something so simple as like, hey, things are going to be okay. Like God's got this, like everything's going to work out. He's a sovereign God. He cares for you. He loves you. He died for you. And I know that he's coming back for you. And so just, trust him with your life. And so just stuff like that, just very simple 1 minute or less, and it's just a quick, encouraging Bible verse or something like that. Or sometimes it's a prayer, and I'll be praying over someone's situation. Maybe it's prayer for anxiety or depression. We all know people affected by those things. I myself have been affected by those things. So it's like, just engaging and connecting where people are. That's kind of what I try to do. And so it's really varied, Tim. So sometimes it's prayer, Bible verses, just word of encouragement, word of faith. Sometimes on YouTube, it's evolved into different animations. So I make biblical animations, and I kind of build a story around different snippets from YouTube. And so I'll add one animation, and I'll add it to another animation, and I'll try to tell a different story in my own unique way of a Bible story, or Jesus healing a leper, or Jesus healing the blind man, or I'll try to do different things. So I'm just exploring, just seeing what's resonating with people and how we can communicate the gospel or the message of God's grace through Jesus more effectively.
Hey, and so to reach people, what are the platforms you'd recommend people that they should be on, at least considering being on?
Yeah, I mean, I believe strongly in YouTube, not just because of the success we've seen on YouTube, but I believe that YouTube, although they weren't the first on the scene in terms of short form content, they were actually one of the last. First, it was TikTok, then it was Instagram with Instagram Reels, but then YouTube Shorts came along, and it was in beta mode for like a while. So I started to get on there while I was on beta mode, and I think that's part of the reason why we saw good results. But I think what YouTube can offer that no other social media app so far has been able to offer is the connection, the hybrid between long form content, which we've all known YouTube to be all about long form content. And now they're bridging the gap. They're blending these two worlds between short form with YouTube Shorts and long form with, a video that's like 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. So I can post a full sermon on YouTube and now drive traffic to that sermon on the short form content. Hey, you want to learn more about evil and human suffering? Why does God allow evil? Why does God allow human suffering? Well, watch the full video that's pinned in my comments, stuff like that. So it's blending these two worlds between short form and long form like never before. And also YouTube is not only one of the premier social media apps to be monetized. So you can get ad revenue from YouTube if you're a creator, if you're a digital creator. And so you're able to build sustainability behind what you're actually creating too as well. So it's very good. And I think YouTube has a lot of, just because they weren't the first doesn't mean they won't be the best. And so I'm hopeful that they are going to emerge from the short form content as one of the premier short form and long form video applications.
Are you posting, let's say you've got a short video you're posting to YouTube. Do you post that same video then to TikTok or Instagram Reels? Are you using it on other channels?
It depends. So early on, I was doing that quite regular, where I would post across everything, the same piece of content. But what I'm noticing about YouTube is that the type of content that's performing really well on YouTube won't be the same type of content that's performing really well on Instagram. I used to just take the same video and post it across all platforms. I still do that in terms of everything that I'm posting on Instagram or on TikTok. I will always post to YouTube as well, but I won't always post some of the animations and some of the biblical animations that I make in cartoons. I won't post those to Instagram because it's a different audience. YouTube is mostly right now, my audience is mostly between teens and early 20s. Instagram is a lot older, not a lot older, but between 18 and 35, and then people in their 40s and 50s and so on. So it's a little bit of a different audience, and I'm just trying to get used to what they're accustomed to. But for the most part, if I feel the content is meaningful and adds value, I will post it across all the platforms, but only if it's relevant to that audience, if that makes sense.
Great. And what advice would you give then to aspiring content creators of how often they should be posting content? Like compare how often do you do it? And then say for someone wanting to get started, how often should they be doing it?
Yeah. So it depends. I will always post across all platforms, but I usually try in one season, meaning maybe a few months, I will really try to put most of my effort towards one social media application. So before it was Instagram, I really wanted to hone in on Instagram. So for a number of months, I really just focused on that is the one I'm going to kind of steward and nurture really well and just see what God's going to do with that. And now with YouTube, seeing a lot of success and momentum there. So now I'm shifting my attention to push more content on YouTube. So right now on YouTube, I'm pushing anywhere from 2 to 4 videos a day. short form videos a day. And so obviously I don't recommend doing that for everybody. You need to have a team, or you need to have been doing this for a long time so it can be quick. For me, I can make a short form piece of content in, like I said, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes, anywhere between 5 and 10 minutes. I can make a piece of short form content. But to start with, it took me like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours when I first started. It took me forever, but then you just get really good. The quantity, the more you do something, the more repetitions, the better you get, the quicker it gets, the more excellent it gets. And so I think, I'm a big believer, quantity produces quality. That's my philosophy. Just keep doing it and you will get better eventually. And so I'd recommend, just start off by posting maybe once every couple days, get used to it, but really push towards posting at least once a day. I would really encourage you. I think it's possible if you just train yourself and you just kind of continue to chip away at different video editing tools, or there's lots of applications on the App Store where you can get video editing tools, video editing applications. Just get savvy with those things, learn how to use them, and then just do it. Start creating stuff for the trash bin. You don't have to post it. I would still post it, but you don't have to. Just start creating stuff for the trash bin, and just wrapple it up. Okay, whatever, next one, just start creating content like crazy.
And Colby, does this really work? So we're called, we're impressed to try to share our faith online. And obviously, this is some wonderful work that you're doing. Does it really work though? Is there more to YouTube and TikTok and Instagram than dance videos? Can you really make an impression on people to introduce them to Jesus?
Yeah, you absolutely can. And actually, Tim,
Okay.
I don't know if I can share my screen. Am I able to share my screen?
Sorry, Colby, I lost you for a moment. Did you?
Oh, no worries. If I'm not able to share my screen, I can just share, because I was actually sharing a presentation earlier today where I showed a snippet. If I can't share my screen, no problem. I'll just share what was shared. But the impact is massive. I get a lot of messages from people who are just like, hey, I'm like really going through a tough season. I saw your video. I was about to take my own life, and I prayed to God for a sign. I prayed to God, if you're out there, if you're real, you're going to give me a sign. You're going to show me that you're there for me. And then they say, man, but then I came across your video, and you praying for me, or whoever was on the other side of the screen, and you just speaking life and giving me hope for tomorrow. And Jesus spoke through you in that short piece of content, and it really impacted me. And that's why I'm here, because God met them through a short form piece of content. And so we see stories. I get messages, DMs like that all the time, just saying how wow, a simple prayer over your peace or over your anxiety, or just a message of hope from the Bible. Jesus says, come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. If you want the rest of God, it's there. It's accessible to you. God wants you to be full of rest. He wants you to be restored. He wants you to experience his presence. So will you make time for him? Just simple stuff like that. Simple messages from the Bible, just made accessible to people through short form content. And it's one of the modalities that are available to us today where we can make things accessible. So this is a great way to make the Bible and the stories of the Bible and the words of hope and life that we have in the Gospels accessible to people who otherwise may never open their Bibles. So it's a great tool. Yeah. And many stories like that, Tim.
And Colby, can you give me an idea of the potential? So you're posting on a high frequency rate, great content. You've been doing this for years. Can you give me a hint, and the people watching this video today, what the potential is? Like, how many people are you reaching? What sort of engagement are you getting as far as numbers go? What's the potential of these tools?
Yeah, so the engagement is insane on YouTube over the last just on the last let's say 35, 40-ish days. The engagement was like 170 million views. 170 million in like a month. Like, it's crazy. So I can't explain what God is done on YouTube. I can't really explain it. I feel like it, something crazy happened, but 170 million views, like, it's unheard of. That is the views, the impressions, meaning the amount of times that your thumbnail or your video actually popped up somewhere on a recommendation, right? Maybe they didn't click it, but they saw it as they were scrolling through their news feed or whatever it is, that your thumbnail kind of pops up in proximity to that, or off the application. Your video thumbnail can appear in different places like WhatsApp communities or Facebook communities, or there's different ways to keep track of these things. So we're talking, if 170 million people viewed my videos in the last month and a half, okay, the amount of times that it actually appeared and popped up is much greater. We're talking about maybe potentially close to a billion. That's the type of reach that we're talking about. The scope is crazy, and is mind-boggling. It's absolutely mind-boggling. So yeah, praise God.
And so is this a tool, more than just one individual content creator like you? Is this a great opportunity for our church, our broader church, to be using to reach people? It looks like our link with Colby's just frozen for a moment. So here he comes.
Hey, Tim, you cut out.
Colby. Yeah. Look, so the question is this, that,
Yeah,
you as
you
an
cut out there for a
content
minute. Could you repeat that?
Yeah, definitely. So you as an individual content creator, having this incredible reach, this incredible engagement, is this a tool that the broader church can use, whether it's individuals or churches, to reach out to people around them? What's the potential of this tool for us to adopt?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about different opportunities for us to translate. We've had a lot of people translate from digital encounters or digital engagement, so meaning that they came across a video, then they come to Bloom and they come to our church and they experience the power of revival and the presence of God, the presence of the Holy Spirit in a local context in their city, right? So we're finding different ways to be creative, to funnel attention that we get on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, and being able to funnel that in an effective way, steward that in an effective way to get people to come to our in-person gatherings. Because we don't want them just to consume content online. We actually want to meet them, and we want to get to know them, and we want to hear their story. We want to grab coffee with them. Obviously, I can't do that with everybody, but my team or our team can reach out to people if they come. So we're trying to find different ways to effectively siphon the attention that we get online to actually transfer and translate that attention to in-person. Let's hear your story. Let's hear what God is doing in your life. Let's get to know you. Let's get you on a path for discipleship. Let's get you walking with Jesus. Let's get you baptized. Let's get you introduced to the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. We want to not stop here. We want to get you on a pathway forward in discipleship. And so we're finding creative ways to do this, Tim. One way is that we actually pin on viral videos. I'll pin a plug for our church service in the comments. So I'll go on Bloom's account, I'll post it on the video that went viral, and the comment for Bloom Church will sit on the top of that, because the comments are very much like its own community. Comments the engagement in the comment section is crazy. It's like its own community. So people will post and they'll comment and they'll put back and they'll like different people's comments and stuff like this. So we're actually making plugs for our services in each and every video that goes viral. And so it's a great way to just give people an awareness that, wow, there's actually a local community that I can plug into, that Pastor Colby's a part of. How can I get there? How can I get to know these people? And so we do all that stuff. So we're finding different ways and shapes and forms to drive attention and traffic to in-person gatherings and meeting them.
Colby, in a moment, we're going to take some of the questions from chat and give you a chance to address some of those questions as much as time permits. But before we do, last time we talked, you talked about a trap that churches fall into of using social media as a billboard and missing out on its true potential. So tapping in and building on what you've just been talking about. Can you talk us through what you mean by that?
Yeah, and I'm actually glad you brought this up, Tim, because I had a conversation with one of the social media marketing strategists for the NAD, and what we talked about was a lot of churches, like you said, will use their social media to let people know when they're meeting, where they're meeting, what they're doing. Like, hey, this is like an announcement. It's like a billboard, right? It's like, hey, this is what's going on. But like, to be honest, people don't care. Like, they don't care what you're doing. If they don't know who you are in your church, people don't really care about when you're meeting. Like, so the question is, like, if Jesus was to meet people, and he did meet people at their level, on their level. How did he do it? By announcing, "Hey guys, we're going to be on top of the Mount of Olives in 25 minutes later today, and if you want to join us, come, feel free to join us." No, he met people at where they were. He healed people where they were. He added value to people where they were. So I don't want to get on these applications and say, "Hey guys, come join us at this time in this place." I want to do something that's gonna the activity of the Spirit is gonna speak through that device, speak through that medium, and change them. And I believe I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen through short form content. I've seen people get healed through a prayer for healing. I've seen it happen. I've heard of the testimonies. They've come in rapidly. And so if God can heal through handkerchiefs and through aprons in the New Testament through the early disciples, why can't he do the same through short form content, through online digital content? He can use anything to get people and reach people and heal people. And I believe he's in the business of healing hearts and minds today through digital evangelism and digital ministries like yours, Tim, as well. So churches need to leverage this. They need to understand, let's meet people, let's encourage people, let's build people up where they are. And right now they're online. So let's find ways to get ourselves immersed in those spaces.
And Colby, it's attractive to see the big stats, and obviously you're doing really well. God's blessing your ministry, and you've been doing it for years. So you refine your craft. You're really effective in learning about what's being effective. But for new content creators, when you start out, you get a handful of views, and week after week, you put your heart, your time, and your sweat into creating content, and no one's watching it. What advice or encouragement can you give to those sort of people?
It's so funny, Tim, because I've been there. Sometimes I'll make a piece of content and I'll put a lot more time and attention and energy into it, and it'll get it'll barely take off. Sometimes I'm like, this piece of content's going to go viral. It's so good. I think it's so awesome. I think God's going to really be all over it. He's going to bless it. And then it'll get maybe 10 views, So it's pretty funny how that happens sometimes. But the thing is this, I think sometimes people get so caught up in the numbers. They get so caught up in, man, I really hope this goes viral, or I really hope this takes off. And it can be discouraging when you don't see something that you put a lot of time in it and energy into not take off. But the bottom line and the reality of it is this: when you start, it's going to suck. It's not going to be that great. It's going to be kind of like, man, you're going to figure this out. It's going to be muddy. It's going to be messy. It's going to be like, man, what am I doing? It's not going to be great. But the more you do it, the better it will become. You'll find out little things along the way. Subconsciously, I probably know a bunch of little things that I don't even think of anymore as little hacks, but subconsciously, there's probably a plethora of things under the surface that I do instantaneously as I'm working through, as I'm editing, as I'm working through a piece of content that I'm like, okay, this is going to attract some attention. This is going to make people click through twice and watch the video twice, which will boost its algorithmic experience. So I'm trying to think of all these little things as I'm creating content that before I would never have thought of. So there's a bunch of little things that someone can do, but just, do it for the one. Don't do it for the masses. If one person out there, like this 14-year-old kid that I always refer back to, because the story was so moving, he reached out to me. He says, man, I was going to take my life, but I saw and I prayed to God and I asked God to give me a sign, and I came across your video praying for whoever was on the other side of the screen. And that's why I stayed here. If you do it for that one person, it's all worth it. If you do it for just the one, if one person viewed your video, man, that's a champion that. Because maybe, if 10 people, 15 people viewed your video online, I bet those 10 people, 15 people wouldn't come to church. So you just reached somebody who wouldn't otherwise enter your church doors through digital ministry. So don't write it off. Be encouraged. Do it for the one. And it makes a difference. It matters. It really does. It matters.
I love that. The one matters. The lost sheep is still important to the shepherd. So that's great. Hey, here's some questions. Let me throw some of this stuff up on the screen. So how did you go about building your base? Did you use paid advertising, for example, to get started?
That's a good question. I would say definitely do not pay for advertising to get started. This is maybe one of the biggest misconceptions today. People are like, well, I don't have a foundation. I don't have anyone watching, so I need to drive traffic through an artificial way to gain an audience. But the cons to this is, number one, you don't need to, because short form content is so viral already that the chances of you stay consistent and you taking off, the chances of you getting that first video that just takes off. Tim, you've had a couple of videos so far that have kind of taken off, right? And the moment that happens, then it's the consistency just to keep on going, to keep on chipping away after you have those and just readapting, making similar content. So I would say do not pay for advertising. Right now, there's too much opportunity that's just free advertising, free marketing. Just be consistent and your video will take off and you'll be like, man, I'm so glad I didn't pay for it, because the audience that I gained by not paying for it are more bought into me and to the message that I bring and to the value that I bring, as opposed to if I had paid for their attention elsewhere. You see that? Because people want to join you, not because you paid for it, but because you added some value to them. So just continue to chip away, stay consistent, and you'll find the right people will come to your platform. They will follow, they will engage, you will attract what you are, and your message of hope will attract people who need hope. I believe in that strongly. And so just keep at it. Don't pay for it.
Look, love that. And previously, and you've mentioned this time and previously when we've talked, is, be relevant, create content that people want. And I love that sort of mantra that you've got, is be relevant to them. How about this question from Wayne? And can you just elaborate a little bit more? So how much time are you spending creating and posting content compared to, say, somebody who's just getting started?
Yeah. Well, I actually don't create, and I shouldn't say this. I create probably 80% of my content, and then 20% of my content I outsource. And that gives me a little bit of a cushion. I really like to actually create my own content, because if I hand it off to somebody else, I feel like right now, I need to be doing it. One day, very soon, hopefully, someone else will be doing 90% of it. But right now, I need to be doing it. I need to be working it. I need to be improving my craft. But per week, and this varies, I don't want to tell you, because I think it could be a deterrent to you getting started, because you'll say, hey, if he's taking this much time to create content, well, number one, I don't have a family, wife, or kids where I live in Portland, Oregon. I'm a missionary. I'm from Canada. I'm in a season of singleness, to the glory of God. Amen. But I have a higher bandwidth. So I work in the evenings, and I can do my timeline, my schedule is a lot different than most people. So I would say I do a lot of work in the evenings and into the late nights, where other people might not be able to do that because they have a family. Creating content is really just kind of like a second. It's kind of a second nature to me. So if I'm sitting in bed or lying in bed just relaxing, and I'll be scrolling through social media, and I'll find a piece of content, I'm like, wow, I like that. I'm going to save that, and I'm going to put it in a file where I can then. So my mind is always thinking in this way. And this is like with preachers too. Preachers are always thinking about a sermon. They're always thinking about a sermon. So I'm always thinking about how I want to communicate a message or something that I see as valuable. I'll kind of think about it, think through it, look for it, and then I'll stash it away into like a memo box or like notes or like an Evernote folder. And I'll be like, okay, that's an idea. I'm going to maybe, how Jesus healed the blind man. So I'm going to use that and kind of put it away. So if I come back to that, I can look at it and reevaluate it later. So I'm always thinking, like, I don't spend, there's not a moment where I'm not thinking about a message that I can communicate in some other way. So it's like, I don't really ever turn it off, to be honest. It's always kind of on the back burner somehow. And it's kind of crazy. It's my crazy though. So
I love that concept of always looking for a great message or a great hook or great content. Hey, here's another question from somebody called Jaden. Thanks, Jaden, for your question. Do you think that every church should be using social media platforms in the way you do, or does it only work in certain circumstances?
That's a great question. It depends on what that church's message is. So I know some churches that are they're opposed to the idea of noise, chaos, and attention. So in a church that is kind of like the message of the church, or maybe the kingdom concept is like disconnect from these platforms, disconnect from, like, look for sacred spaces that are disconnected from all the chaos in the modern world. Like, if that's the message of my church, then maybe it's not best for them to utilize their social media posting 3 times a day. You know what I mean? because like that's kind of contrary to the message. Like you don't want to add more to the chaos of the world, even though it's good. You don't want to add to the noise, so you want to disconnect. So I mean, it really depends on what that church's mission, what their message is. I don't think the way that I leverage social media should be for every church to leverage it in the same way. It really depends on what your message, what your mission, how you want to steward and grow disciples for the kingdom, because every church is a little bit different. So that's how I would kind of answer that. I don't think it's a one shoe fits all type deal.
Hey, Colby, we're running out of time. So what I've done is I'll do a snapshot of all the questions and comments that people provided. And there's some great feedback, and we really appreciate your time today. If you'd love to meet Colby in person, he's coming to the Digital Discipleship Conference that's going to be held in Sydney in May. Go to digitaldiscipleship.au website. You can now register for this conference. Colby's going to be one of our special speakers at the conference. We've got some other great men and women who are experts in this space too. But come and join us. Colby will be speaking. He's running some workshops. If you'd like to do a deeper dive, we'd love to see you at the conference. If you can't make the conference, we'll also provide some of the content online at a later date. So Colby, really appreciate your time today. It's fantastic that God's blessing your ministry, that you're changing lives, you're reaching lots of people. And we look forward to implementing and learning some of the things that you've talked about today and applying that to our own situations.
Yeah, I'm really excited to come out there, Tim.
Great. And again, if anyone's watching, whether on demand or live, check out Adventist Media website, do a Google search, and you'll see we're starting to upload some great content there to help people be good digital disciples. And we'd love to see you at the conference if you can make it in May. Thanks, Colby. Have a great day. Colby's got a race because he's got some Bible studies coming up, life of a busy pastor, but appreciate your message and timing today.
Thanks so much, Tim. Appreciate you. We'll talk soon.
Okay, catch you then. Bye.
See ya.